This situation puts us in a perilous position. Welcome to the podcast where we discuss how to outmaneuver your opponents. I'm Faith, and I'm here with Jrod and His Dudeness. Today we discuss the results from the first major event of Set 3 and new planetary qualifier information that we received on Wednesday. Dudeness, what speaks to you from what we heard from FFG regarding the planetary qualifiers?
Well, first and foremost, you guys wanted more qualifiers. You guys got more qualifiers.
Woo!
Last time there was only one in Texas, now there's 4. You guys wanted more, they gave us more. They were true on their word. We've got pretty much everywhere is covered as far as I know, even for the most part, right, that are relevant, which is pretty cool. It's great to see these people are going to be able to get a qualifier because not many people actually did in Set 2. So that's fantastic. That's great. Now, that being said, it wasn't perfect. For reasons I'll never understand. 2 out of those 4 qualifiers in Texas are happening on the exact same day, January 18th, one in Dallas and one in Houston. That's not ideal because I know for sure there were some Houston players that came up to the Dallas one, and I'm sure the opposite would have happened for the Houston one had them not been on the same day, but I guess it is what it is. You can't always get everything right. But listen, I mean, all the places that pretty much wanted a qualifier last time got one this time. So that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with how things shook out this time. I have one that's about like 30 or 40 minutes away from me, and I have 2 others that are within a 2-hour drive, which is, I think, more than reasonable to go to one of these things. So I have at least 3. If I want to go to 3 hours, I can go to 4. I will say Rhode Island didn't get one. Little roadie, just forgetting the smallest state in the country. Yeah. But I mean, most of them are close enough to Mass or Connecticut where they can just go to those. So it's not the end of the world, but just a little. Not forget the little guys. That's all I'm trying to say.
Well, you've got a mixture there where you've got states that are small in size-wise, but then also some states which are really far apart. One notable location that I saw was Fargo in North Dakota was selected as a place. Now, as people might know, I'm from the Twin Cities area in Minnesota, and so North Dakota is very close, which was a nice thing to see. In the Twin Cities themselves, we had 2 locations, 2 events. I'll be able to play in one of them, so I'm really excited to get to go to my first PQ. And then there was one in Wisconsin that was kind of close and one in Iowa. So I was happy at the amount that are at least kind of playable for me. And then one in Canada as well. So yeah, having access to 6 seems nice. I do want to just remind people though, this is the lowest level of the competitive play. We're still going to get regionals and sectors as well. So we'll have to see what that comes and when they come.
I imagine those will come closer to the quote unquote worlds.
I don't know if you guys remember, they did say that at the Galactic Championship, they're going to have the first big event for the next year on like day 2 of that event. And I don't remember if they said that was a planetary, a regional, or a sector, but one of the first one of those will be the day after the Galactic Champion, or day 2 of the Galactic Championship.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how things shook out. I mean, that sounds definitely interesting. I'm excited for that. I'm hoping to be able to go to Worlds next year, so that'll be super cool to partake in that, hopefully. But everything that I've heard, I mean, last time we had this announcement, there was a big uproar. Everyone couldn't go to them. They were too far. The promos kind of stunk. And we got halfway there this time, I'll say. Everyone seems to be happy with where they are, so everyone kind of has one they can at least go participate in if they would like to. I know I've already purchased a ticket for one of mine, so I will be going to the one in Great Stories in Massachusetts. So that will be great and fun. But I will say, I think they still dropped the ball with these promos. Now, I don't think that they're miserable. Like, the Invisible Hand is pretty playable. But honestly, I think I would have liked them better if they actually swapped around the ships. Because like I said, the Invisible Hand is somewhat playable. And I don't think Tranquility is very playable. I think it's actually just a worse home one. So for me, like, it's not going to see much play unless you're just not in Green Hero. So, but even then, like, it doesn't do enough for me to want to play it. So for those reasons, I'm out. Also, the damn borders, like, please just stop putting we have really cool art on these things. And the art doesn't have borders. And then we put these, like, the Invisible Hand doesn't look miserable, but Tranquility, I'm sure it's different in person, but on the art I've seen on my computer screen, it's like it retracts from the art. I literally am looking at the border instead of the art because of how bad it is. Please save me from this.
I have to agree with the Jrod here. if they just removed those borders from these two promos, they would look infinitely better. I'm pretty sure that that Tranquility in hyperspace open border would look
Fantastic.
dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would look amazing. But as it is, you just kind of like this white kind of blob, and then there's like this little picture of a spaceship in the middle.
Yeah, I agree. I like the art. I do like the art.
I just don't. Great.
I just don't agree with the choice of these cards again. I will say I really liked Gore for the Store Showdown. I think that was the right choice. I liked Mace. I really like Takedown. I really like the idea of these like playable as a participation card. I'm not a fan still of Sauvage Oppressed, just because how many people are going to play that card where people were playing Takedown? I would have liked to see I'm mentioning the Store Showdown because you're obviously choosing one art as the Store Showdown and one art for this Planetary Qualifier. The two cards that I would have chosen as participation cards for each of those, one would have been probably Clone Commander Cody. He's a huge like people will like him as a character. He's an uncommon, which I think is an okay rarity for participation. He's single aspect, which I think is important because it allows for more playability, especially for this set where you're okay going wide and you're okay triggering that coordinate effect itself. And then the other one I would have chosen, top 16 card, I would have really liked County Mundi. That's another legendary single aspect, a kind of fun, cool, playable card in my mind. So I think that would have been the fun object that I would have liked to see as the prize for this myself. The other one I would have chosen, though, as my participation prize for either the Store Showdown or for this event would have been Bloodsport. Because I think that's just kind of, again, a generic, kind of playable, uncommon, that I think would be a fun, cool alternate art to see.
I actually think it would have been cool to have Perilous Position, naming of the episode, for the competitive, where everyone gets one. To me, I think their mindset should be for the competitive events, so PQs and up, how can we give competitive players cool promos to play in their deck? That should be their number one goal with all of the promos. Like, so it should be like Perilous Position, which is probably one of the best cards in the set. And then probably like, I don't hate County Mundi. I think it's a good one. I think Cad Bane would have been a really sick one, but obviously there's going to be bigger events, so maybe like they're saving the best ones for those. So like, I think Cam's a good middle ground. Now, the two big, cool, interesting ships that are very like Timmy stuff, like I think those would have been really cool and interesting as a Store Showdown one, because Store Showdown is supposed to be more casual, more fun. So putting the more casual, fun, big Timmy cards in those, I think actually would have served this a lot better. And I think if they use that mindset when thinking of the cards, like, okay, Store Showdown, while competitive, is more of a casual thing. So those I can put the real cool casual cards, like Gore's a great option for that. Then we get to the competitive stuff. Which cards do we feel are actually going to be very competitive viable? Mm-hmm. You know, and I know they know which those cards are. Like, I know they have at least a reasonable idea of what the good cards are going to be, because they're designing them specifically that way. So I imagine they fully understand which those cards are. So let's put those as promos. Now, granted, they probably didn't have a ton of time to make new promos for this set in the wave of the backlash from the previous set. So the fundamental change of what cards they're choosing might not have had an opportunity to happen for this set. So I will give them the benefit of the doubt this time, and hopefully in set 4 PQs, we'll have good cards, and we'll have cards people actually want to go play for, and not just the prizes themselves for the PQ.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that like competitive events should have just like cards that are relevant. Actually, for the Store Showdown, I don't know if this would have been how popular this would have been. I think some people would have liked this, though, is to use double-sided tokens as the participation one, where you get like a clone trooper and alternate art droid on either side.
Yeah, that's really cool. Actually, I love that idea.
I think that'd be cool in the weekly play pack. Having like you can pull one of those once in a while. That'd be cool.
Because I think like alternate tokens are always a really cool thing. Now the only thing I can say against that is the two-sided ones are in the starter set, so maybe they wanted to keep that just a starter. I'm not sure. That could have been different art. But yeah, I did like Cam because, again, I think you just would see a little bit more. And I think like you do want to save the best legendaries for cards you can only get in the pack. There's a variety of reasons for why the Mace Windu card is the price that it is. It's not the most playable card, but it was Store Showdown prize. And so there is just a lot of them that become onto the market onto whatever, in circulation, because you get so many copies of them. So I would caution against putting the absolute best cards as the prize cards.
So one argument against that is that, well, for store showdowns, which almost every store has the opportunity to run one of those, I would agree. I'm referring to the competitive side of things where you have to earn to win it. And a top 16 card for that, I think, can definitely be a banger. Could be a General Grievous, could be Cad Bane, could be a Darth Maul. Like, I think any three of those would have been a fantastic pick for the top 16 card. And there's only 100 and something, so that means there's only 1,600 versions of that. But that also means there's only like of the champion one, right? Or no, there's only 160 champion ones or whatever, however many we have. And then it gets a little bit bigger as we go. But people are going to want those champion stamps. So that's one's going to be really valuable if you win the whole thing. So that's going to give more incentive to go play.
Totally. The champion one's always going to have the higher value. I'm not disagreeing with that.
But what I'm saying is that there's just not as many as there were with the store showdown. So the hurting the value of the regular cards, I don't think is going to be there. And personally, I don't remember offhand how much Mace was before, but he wasn't very expensive. And he actually went up after showdowns because he was starting to see play in set 2. He went up a little bit because of the blue Han, or the Han 2 blue.
Dudeness, you were at one of these, maybe you would know. But they do give out the top 16 in this. Do they, with Planetaries, do the same as they do with store showdowns? Where, like, if you win, do you get the champion, a semifinalist, a quarterfinalist?
Yes.
Correct.
So by winning an event, you get 4 copies of the card. That's a lot.
Sure, but like you also won a 200-person event. For reference, I once won a 200-person Magic event, and I took home $1,200 in cash in my pocket. Right, so like that's the kind of level of like competitiveness people are looking for to have these cool prizes. Like I know for a fact, I'm not going to name drop any names. There's someone who won a PQ and probably not playing much more SWU because the prizes aren't there, and they're going to play other games, I'm not going to mention which game, because their prizes are just worth significantly more, so it makes more sense to devote more time to a game when the monetary value is also there, right? So if you want to...
Totally.
So if you want to draw new competitive people, you have to have great prizes that people want to play for. You can't just expect everyone to play because they love the game. All of us in this call love to play this game, so we'll probably play it regardless, which we are. But I think if we want to get this game to where we hope it is, right, I think that has to happen. And, you know, it's like I said, I'm giving FFG the benefit of the doubt here because I do think that it was probably too short notice for them to change their choices because they probably had set 1 and set 2 already picked out. Maybe even set 3 for promos already. So, like, I'm hoping set 3 maybe they could have changed it. But I'm expecting in set 4 we'll see hopefully some better promos for Planetary Qualifiers.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it'll be a decision on how they want their game to be. At the end of the day, that's a choice that FFG has to make. If they want to be a competitive game, you're right, they do have to have competitive prizes, or else they're not going to connect with those people that are in that mindset, that want to play at the highest level of the game for serious prizes. And I don't think they have to lose the casual element they could have by having the store showdown, like you're having weekly events. Like you can still, I think, appeal and have space for casual play, while also to make sure that your competitive events are rewarding people for playing competitively.
Exactly. And that's why I think that the competitive events, like I said, should have the competitive cards, and the casual event should have the cool casual cards. You know what I mean? Like I think the devs are actually really good at picking promos that are pretty cool and casual to like a wide variety, like the 2 ships that we have for these PQs. I think they would have been great options for store showdowns. I just don't think they hit as hard for the competitive scene because they're not that competitively viable. So they're like, especially for the fact that they put the better one as the participation one and the worst one as the top 16. Like if those were reversed, it actually would have been better.
Dudeness, any kind of cards that you would have liked to see, or any design choices for which cards are chosen?
I do think it was curious that they gave us 2 ships in the set that released right before the set devoted to ships.
Ooh, I never thought about that.
So, like, that's just I want to know, like, who actually made that choice and who didn't give us, like, some clones or a Jedi or a Sith or any of these awesome things you could pull from the era instead of ships in the set that's, you know, only sort of has ships in it, right? I don't know. That will forever befuddle me, bamboozle me. I don't know. Like I'm just whatever. I guess that guy needs to reevaluate his choices a bit more. Beyond that, what they could have been, I have no idea. Pretty much what I just said, right? A clone or something. I also wish that they could print these like with the sooner quick around or turnaround or something, right? You could evaluate what actually are the good cards, or because these aren't it. Like whoever thought like these would be like a playable cards doesn't quite understand the game.
And that's actually an interesting point I'm just thinking of. Let's look at set 1. They had only, if I remember correctly, 64 copies of the cards, of the participation cards. And it seemed like they were able to get the other 64, right? Everyone got a participation card that went to fill the 128 as an actual participation prize. So they were able to double that print size, at least for the participation one. Because that's like a non-foil card.
Sure.
So,
I don't know.
That was probably, not to be fair, that was probably a lot of work. It probably cost them extra money to get something printed fast. So they probably wouldn't want to always do that. I can appreciate that. I mean, FFG is a business. They want to make money. I don't think that they have to go to extraordinary lengths, but it just seemed possible at the very least if they were able to print out so many copies that fast.
The biggest takeaway is just that you need recognizable faces from a Star Wars universe. And these two ships just aren't it, especially not in a set that's not devoted to the ships, right? Like the next set, that makes sense. Put a home one or whatever, home one and executor or something. I don't know, whatever it's going to be. Like Death put Star. Those on them. Those are bangers, right? That's fantastic. We love those, but these random clone ships just don't quite hit the same. Clone warships, I should say.
Also, I will say, like, while they were able to print those more, also remember that, like, so I used to work in a print shop, so I kind of know some of the background on this stuff. Like, if you have to go through a lot of process of, like, the art and where you want it and how you want it, a lot of stuff like that. So, like, to print a new card is significantly different than just printing more of what you've already printed, because they already have those kind of set and ready to go for the most part. So it's a lot easier to do that than send in new art and get all that kind of stuff. So it's once it's been chosen and printed, there's no chance of them going back.
Sure. No, that's fair. And I'm sure like coloring, like it's probably not just the easiest pressing print is, it looks the colors are all fine. So that's a fair point.
Like if they had put like R2-D2 as the participation promo for this competitive event, I promise you everyone and their mom would have been going to the event. Like just R2-D2, who is the best card, one of the best cards in the set, and he's an uncommon, even as a participation promo people would have been wanting him. Even if he was the top prize for a champion, that still would be a card people would chase after because he is a recognizable name. He's a very playable card. It's going to go in a lot of hero cunning decks. So, like, to me, boom. Also, if they wanted to go big ships, why wouldn't you do the Malevolence and Resolute? Those are way more, like, big names than the Tranquility and whatever. Like, Malevolence is Grievous ships, and Resolute is, I believe, Anakin's ship. So, like, those to me are, like, if you're going to pick ships, pick those. But I agree with Dudeness. It should be next set where you're picking the ships for the ship set. I guess if I had a perfect world, it would probably be any of the three between Darth Maul, Grievous, and Cad Bane. And then for the participation, it would be R2-D2, I think. Or Anakin Skywalker. I could see that one, too. Because he's a starter card, but still really good. To kind of promote him being one of the biggest things from the set. Recognizable name, different art, kind of cool.
Yeah, Grievous as the top 16 cards would have been sweet, actually, or something. Like those would have went hard, and people would have been like, "Yeah, let's go to this PQ, let's go." And now it's like, "Oh, I get a invisible hand."
I'm still Team Clone Commander Cody, as Dudeness said, a clone, something that is, I think a pull card potentially, not as playable as R2-D2, which is totally in all cunning heroism decks. Again, we'll see. Maybe there will be if we do get sectors. I don't think we're gonna get sectors that has been announced this set. But maybe there'll be some bigger prizes like a Cad Bane or a Darth Maul or something like that come those bigger events.
I think they said year 2 for that, if I remember. Excuse me, if I remember correctly, but I'm not sure off that, so I could be wrong. But don't quote me on that.
That's fair.
Also, real quick, while we're talking about the cards from Twilight, real quick, I just want to point out that my boy Cad, who I've always championed as the best card in the set, is now closing in on. Now there are 2 of them because people are coming around and like, wow, now there are 2 of them is good, but like. It's not the best card. You can't always play it, so it's like good sometimes. It's good early, but not good late. Where Cad Bane is like almost always good, and he's kind of insane. So thanks everyone for agreeing with me.
Well, to be fair, Cad isn't good. It turns 1 to 4, but he's good after that.
Oh, okay.
I do think that Cad's equivalent in set 1 would be Luke. To me, that seems like the most adequate comparison.
Well, Cad could be good on turn 4 if you play Now There Are Two of them. Because he's one of the best things to play off of it.
I agree with that. Hey, check out that Bosk deck tech on our channel where we have that combo inside of it.
Accidental plug, let's go.
Second plug, back to back, is check out our Discord, which is in the link in the description. If you have questions about any deck techs or want to just chat with us, we are there. We will answer your questions.
Our Discord's been like a little busier lately, which has been awesome. I love to see it. So we'd love to have more of you amazing people chatting with us in there. So check it out.
Shout out to all those day one fans as well.
Yes, sir.
Now that we're done all of our toxic plugs, let's transition this conversation into the first major event for set 3, which was the Star City Game tournaments that they had in Columbus, where there was a 1K on Friday, a 2K on Saturday, and a 1K on Sunday. What did you guys gain from any of these events?
Basically, if you were a good player, you did well. There wasn't a specific deck that I think pushed players higher than others. Like, I feel like if you were just play the game a bunch and you were a reasonable player, you probably did fairly well. You know, to me, I think the 2K had 3 Boba Fett reds in the top 8, which everyone was like, oh god, I'm not Boba Fett, excuse me, Jango Fett. I'm probably gonna do that a lot. So just be aware, if I say Boba moving forward and it's not about Twin Suns, it's Jango Fett. So there's 3 Jangos in the 2K. But there's only I think 1 or 2 in the top 8 for the other 2 days. So that was great to see. Where actually I think there was maybe none the second day. I forget, but it was only at least 1 or 0 the second day, and everyone was afraid that Jango was going to take over, and then he just didn't perform in day 2, and everyone's oh, so we can adjust to beat him, and it's yeah, he's not as busted as cheating out resources. He just has a cool effect, and he's really good against aggro.
I think what's nice is that to see the diversity. In general, I'll talk about that we're not just seeing 5 of a single leader. We're seeing a couple different options across all the days, which, hey, that's wonderful to see. You don't want to see 20 Jangos out of the 24 slots that could have been across these 3 days. I'm probably most surprised by the lack of Sabine that's there. For me, I definitely would have thought that. Glad to see that Jangos keep that card down, and the other leaders were as well. I'm okay with seeing some Sabine. Again, I think it's going to be a playable deck, and we'll have to see if any of these decks do come to the forefront and overpower the other ones.
I mean, right now it seems pretty healthy to me. You can play what you feel comfortable on. If you have a good game plan into some of the other expected decks, I think you could bring a deck and kind of do well with a lot of things. So I think it's tough right now to play a full control deck because someone comes with a real interesting brew and you have no idea how to deal with it, and your cards don't line up properly, and can definitely put you in a bad spot. So, and of course, the time restrictions as well are kind of also hurt control. It's definitely an interesting spot to be in.
Yeah, it really just speaks to the fact that this game has a lot higher skill ceiling than other games. It's just understanding the lines and how to play, and can really just give you an edge over the less skilled players.
One thing that I'm seeing in the Saturday event is a lot of Tarkin Towns, and I think that's a really strong card, to be honest. I really like Tarkin Town. You're also just seeing all the colors used, all the different aspects. So I think that's kind of neat, just getting to see a variety of different, again, color combinations, card combinations. It makes, as kind of Jrod saying, a little bit, you have to think about a lot more different lines. You have to think about a lot more different options, rather than kind of all things that are generally the same with a little bit of flares of difference. We're also seeing still, if you're looking at the Sunday events, a lot more 30 health bases, where other events having a lot more of the 25 health bases. I don't think I saw any, from the research I saw, any of the set 3 rare bases, though.
I do know, I think someone on Saturday who just missed top 8 from McClunky Gaming, he was playing double yellow Saj Ventress, who was Titanic, the person who's set the stream there as well for the Columbus. So okay. Yeah, he was playing Petronakri Arena. So I think that card is definitely going to be, any yellow aggro deck is probably going to be playing that for their leader, because I think it definitely just changed some of the math.
Especially that 26 health, I think it's just, to me, again, such an interesting thought of what does that add? What's the cost of it? Is it worth it? I don't know.
Well, you need 3 attacks with your leader, right, for it to pay back itself, basically. In some matchups, I guess, because I guess against control, even just getting 1 extra damage can be different between a win and a loss. So against control, it's like free basically. But against other aggro decks, I think is where like that's going to be the determining factor of like if it's good or not. Like right, like if the aggro deck can outrace other aggro decks that they both have that base.
And yeah, we're still early on, so it's hard to know how all these things are going to adjust. And these events are how we're going to see if these are worth doing or not. I mean, at the end of the day, if people are playing, like everyone can have their own opinions, but it's what people end up playing with that matters.
Until you put the cardboard on the table, nothing else matters.
And what do? You have to put it on the table?
You don't pay for Falcon.
Yeah. No, that's so rude. That's so rude, bro. Bro, why would you even say that, man? Like, come on, man. I was gonna say you just turn them sideways, but yeah, no. I mean, sure.
Well, make sure you turn your resource sideways for Falcon.
Yeah, turn something sideways.
We can laugh about it now, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Never.
Too soon.
And I know we're not going to get like any major results from packs, unfortunately. And so we're only going to have a few more tournaments before Planetary Qualifiers start that are going to influence those early deck designs. I really hope we get a meta. So for those that are maybe new to Star Wars Unlimited, in the set 1 meta, it was very interesting because we would know there was no Planetary Qualifiers, no big event like that. But across Star Showdowns, which was the biggest event at the time, you were seeing one weekend aggro decks would just dominate. And then next weekend, people would build accordingly and respond. And then mid-range decks might win. And then after that, you'd have the control decks win the next weekend. And then after that, you'd have aggro decks that would win in this kind of like pattern that went along. It really was a very interesting time to be playing the game. Because of all these different things that would develop and different metas that would shift over time. So I'm hoping we're going to be seeing some of that come the Planetary Qualifier season. Any final thoughts of what you guys want to see at these events?
Palpatine. Chancellor Palpatine. That's it. That's all I want to see.
Dudeness, anything from you that you want to see?
Yeah. More aggro.
The boy wants to see more aggro
in general because, like, that's my jam. But Django Tarkentown, I think, kind of poops on aggro a little bit. So,
why don't you guys put your answer in below what you guys want to see at these events? One thing I do want to say, just looking at these lists as well, we are seeing set 3 leaders, which means that, like, as this game's going on, we're going to be getting leaders that were good in the first set that are still played. Leaders that were good in the second set that were still played, and leaders now that are still played. There was some people that were discussing how the leaders this set were very underpowered and didn't seem playable compared to other sets, and I don't understand that narrative. But proof is in the pudding that you can play set 3 heroes and still win events, still do well at events.
To be fair, I think I saw some of that when Boba Fett had yet been suspended, and him being lifted, I think definitely opened up the game a good bit, and I think we're back to a healthy spot like we were in set 1, knock on wood, where we had like you could play a lot of different stuff and it could do well. I think set 1 had like 6 different leaders, which was basically like half the leaders that were out you could play and be reasonable with. So we'll see how this set 3 meta goes, because there's a lot of cool stuff that can happen, a lot of interesting decks. I'm hoping someone breaks Palp 2. I have my showcase now, so I would love to see a great deck with that. I've done my best to do a little bit of work with that, but definitely needs a little bit more work.
Well, that's it for us today. Thanks for giving us a listen. We are not going to be having an episode next week, as it is Thanksgiving weekend in America. So for all those that are celebrating, happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you in December next time, where we show you how to outmaneuver your opponents.
Cheers, guys.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.